Hi, my name is Russell Bowyer and I'm from Beaufort Property, and today I'm going to discuss lease options, but more importantly how most people teach that lease options are a no money down type of property investment. Well, actually that is not the case. I'm going against the grain here, but let me explain further. But what I want to save you in this video is finding your first lease option on the understanding that it's a money down deal and then losing that deal because you don't have the money to take that forward. And that's what I'm going to explain to you in this video to stop that happening to you. So to explain, a lease option contract is only legally binding and it only works where there's consideration, or in other words, money exchanges hands. So that's the first point. Now, as an aside, I accept that a lease option deal can be done with just £1 or $1. That's all it has to be. However, lease options in the first place aren't easy to find. And secondly, when you find a lease option, to find one where you only have to put £1 or $1 down, they aren't easy to find, well, even harder to find as well. So what you don't want to do is to find a great lease option. I found one the other day where, we're talking about, from memory, about £500,000 of the property, but we were discussing a lease option consideration of £20,000. Now, admittedly, for a £500,000 property, or there was 3 properties in this particular case, it would be very difficult to buy £500,000, 3 properties with £20,000 in the conventional way. So that's a very low amount of money. However, £20,000 isn't a no money down deal. It's little money, admittedly, but it's not no money. And that's the important thing here. The other thing to recognise with going forward with a lease option is, on top of the consideration, which you want to get as low as possible, of course, are legal fees. Now, oftentimes you'll have your legal fees, but to sweeten the deal, to make it a win-win for you and the seller, is to offer to pay their legal fees too. So you've got to find those funds. But on top of that as well, not all lease option deals, the property comes fully ready to let out, or whatever you want to do with that property. So you potentially have refurbishment costs on top of those other costs. So the last thing you want to do is to find the deal and then find and explain to the seller that you can move quickly, you can get this done across the line, get their property sold so they get out of their problem that they're in, and why they're happy to go down the lease option route, only to find that you don't have the money to go forward. So the point I'm making is to go in knowing at the outset that you may need some funds, and then you can work out how to get those funds beforehand, whether it's on credit cards, borrowing from friends or family, saving up in the first place, or whatever it is. You could even raise some money on your property if you are a property owner. But it's to have those funds in place before you find that lease option deal, so that you don't lose it when you find it. The important message I want to get across also in this video is that, for me, lease options are probably one of my favourite ways to invest in property. They are little money down deals, and if you can find them, they are a great way of investing, because not only do you get one property or several properties at with a small amount of money up front, but also you end up helping people, because they can't necessarily sell their property in the conventional way. And it's a great way of creating this win-win between you as the investor and this seller selling the property. A lease option deal, just to understand, gives you the right but not the obligation to buy that property. However, what I would recommend is that with all your lease options, always go into it with the intention to ultimately buy. Even though it gives you the right but not the obligation, it's, in my opinion, it's not a good idea to, whether it's a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year option contract period, is to then get to the end of it and then walk away and leave that seller high and dry. I don't think that's the right way to do it, but everything, whatever you prefer to do. But I think you should go in with that intention, because the seller is obliged to sell to you during the option contract period, but they can't force you to go ahead with it, but you are tied in for that period. Before I go on to a couple of examples, I've touched on one. Please give us a thumbs up for this video, and please subscribe to my channel. That'd be very much appreciated. So a couple of examples to explain how they're not no money down deals, but they are little money down deals. I've already touched on one with £500,000, which was 3 properties with £20,000. On top of that, you're probably looking about £3,000 of the legal fees. In this particular case, there were or is no refurbishment costs. Unfortunately, at the moment, the actual deal is slowed up because of COVID. He doesn't want to, his reason for selling was stopped because of COVID, so that's put on hold. But the important thing is to understand that £20,000 against a £500,000 property portfolio is a little money down deal, but it's a sizable chunk of money that you'll need to find plus the legal fees to get that deal across the line. Another deal that is going through at the moment is I'm doing sorted out a lease option contract with a guy who's selling 12 investment properties. Now, as it happens, in this particular case, each of those properties, I've agreed a deal whereby I pay £1 per property. So yes, they are out there, you can find them. However, the important thing is that's 12 properties, and the legal fees are close to £10,000. So whilst, yes, that's £12, very little money, most people would have £12. However, not everyone would have £10,000 in their back pocket to pay for the legal fees to get that lease option contract across the line. So that's why it's important to know that when you first go into lease options, before you make that mistake of potentially losing the deal. To help you on your way with, if you're just starting out with property investing, or maybe you've already started and you're trying to work out which route to go down, I made a handy table, and in that table I go through, if you've got no money, perhaps £500 to £1,000, less than say £5,000 and so on, and which strategy may apply and how you could work with each of those strategies. And I've put this table on an article on my blog, and it might be worthwhile you having a look at that table, because that might help you with your property investing going forward. Actually, it's part of an article which also may be worthwhile you reading, and it's an article about property investing with little or no money. And to find that article, the easiest way for you to find it is if you just go onto Google and do a simple search of Bofin property, and we'll come up at number 1 on Google. And then when you get on that website or my blog, to the right hand side you'll see the search bar, and just type in OPMS. That's Oscar Papa Mike Sierra, because I've put that within the actual article, which is other people's money strategies. That's what that stands for, and that will be the article that come up. Well, it's the only article that will come up when you search that. Go onto that article. You might be interested to read the article, but if you only want to have a look at that table I'm just telling you about, there's a section which will jump you to the different sections. You can either scroll down or just open that up, and you can jump to that table and have a look at it. But I do recommend to have a quick read of that article too. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've got something from this YouTube video. And like I say, give us a thumbs up, and bye for now.